And as always, Tristan, we got to talk about Kickstarter news. Because that's what we do here, Tristan. That's all we do, really, is just talk about Kickstarter news, I think, at this point.
It's how the fame and fortune rolls in.
You can't do a Kickstarter. That's bad. All right, but you have to actually, talk about them. Then that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we can't. Yeah, we can't make a Kickstarter. If we
meant
did,
for
that would be
us.
terrible.
I thought you meant about everyone we've been talking about for a second. I'm like, wait, they've been doing
Even though
well,
all of
what is
no,
this?
every project has been funded that we talked about thus far. This one, I haven't looked into whether or not it's been funded yet. I know we're doing this late, but we are just gonna talk about it in general because there's a reason why I want to talk about this, right? And this Kickstarter, by the way, if any of you are wondering, because maybe you're listening on like audio-wise and you can't actually see the title of the video, there's a game called Orderland. And from the looks of it, it's an RPG game, and it's a newer game from the looks of it. It doesn't seem like it's like an old game that they're bringing back. Yeah, it launched digitally in Japan for the 3DS December 2013. And so, obviously, yes, it's a quote-unquote older game, but, I mean, it's been 5 years.
Right. Yeah.
Right? That's not... Like, when I think of, oh, this is getting a Kickstarter for, like, a new translation or whatever, or something like that, it makes me think, like, oh, is this, like, 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, right? Because, I mean, there's some... newer game collections coming out, like NES games, Super NES games. So it makes me think, oh, is this like that old? And it's not. So it's from the 3DS, and there's a Kickstarter because it's talking about, oh, well, it can get an English release through Steam, Xbox Live, the Switch, and let's see, where else is it? Yeah, if the project reaches 53,656 US dollars or 6 million yen, the game will also get a PS4 version. They're trying to go for 5 million, which is 44,573 US. So, why is this campaign important? I'm sure you might be asking yourself, Tristan. Tristan, I know, you personally, you don't have any connection to this game. You never played it. It has never been released in English.
Right.
Right? So why is there a connection? It's not about the game itself, actually. I'm not looking at this game and going, I'm super hyped, Tristan. This is the best game that I've ever seen. No. I don't know. I've never played it. It's because I want this to be the new norm. Now, the new norm for games, only for games that companies might not know if they're profitable, might not know if the fans actually want them. So they look at their fan base and say, guys, if you pay for this translation, then we can actually get something out for you guys digitally.
Right.
And if you guys really want this, then, let's do this. And if not, then, all right, then we don't make the cut, and then we don't do it. So the reason why I'm hyped about this is because I think it opens the door to a lot of older games. Because look, I don't think this should be the new norm for new games or newer properties. I actually made a response video to another YouTuber on our Those Guys Play YouTube channel. The YouTuber is RGT85, and he was talking about one of his friends/fans asked him, hey, how would you feel about, Capcom releasing the newest Monster Hunter through a Kickstarter, basically, kickstarting the translation costs. And he wasn't the biggest fan of that in some respects, because while it would be cool, Capcom is an established company, they're a very large company. So obviously, yes, I don't know how I feel about Nintendo saying oh, if you want us to release, Animal Crossing on the N64, pay us through Kickstarter. I don't know how I feel about Nintendo or Capcom or Konami or Sega doing something like that. But this company is not one of those companies, So when a smaller company comes up and says, hey, a small company comes up and says, hey, if you want us to do this, then let's see if you really do. And of course, giving you rewards and incentive for it as well.
Right.
Not just saying give us your money and then you have to pay an additional whatever for the game. If they're going to do that, then to me, I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool thing, and I hope it becomes the norm, at least when it comes to older games like this. Not for new games on the horizon, but, I mean, think about some games, Tristan, that you may have liked or heard about that sounded like an interesting concept, but the only thing that's stopping you from getting it is either a language barrier, or it's been released, a fan translation's been released, but they have to play it on your computer. not that you have an original like Super Nintendo, to be fair, but you know, if a company started pushing newer N64 games, you have an N64 and your computer, in my opinion, it's a really good computer, but I don't know if it's good enough to emulate N64.
Right.
So you might have to go and buy that game. But if it's a game that you really enjoyed, like there's a Famicom game, and I know you don't have an original Nintendo, but remember I talked to you about that Famicom Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, this looks really cool. That one was never released stateside.
Right.
If Disney released that stateside, because they were like, I mean, again, I wouldn't know if I want Disney to have a Kickstarter, to be fair, but if Disney released that stateside, like, maybe you guys want a little bit of this? And people donated to it, and then they got it. I'm sure you would donate to it if you had a Nintendo. You'd be like, I get a new Star Wars game.
Right.
Right? You'd just be wondering, all you need is the address. Like, I'm sending my money, I just don't know where.
I'm throwing it at the screen, and nothing seems to be happening yet.
Yeah. But you see my point, right? Like, there's a treasure trove of older games that either have gotten fan translations or haven't, and there are so many reproduction carts out there, and I don't like reproduction carts of actual games that have been released in the US because people are trying to scam you, in my opinion. Like, there could be some that aren't, that are really trying to tell you, hey, no, it's a reproduction, don't worry, this is not real. But then why are you selling, like, look at Earthbound, right? There are some real Earthbound games on eBay, the lowest are $100, and they're real. Right? If you're going to sell me Earthbound on the Super Nintendo and it's a repro, then why are you charging $75?
Right, yeah.
I mean, repro might be in the title or repro might be in the description, but it still kind of feels like it's some way of trying to get around the fact that it's... Because if it's a repro, i.e. a fake, of a game that exists here...
Right.
Not saying that you should buy it either way, not saying it should or shouldn't be sold. I mean going in that direction. I'm just saying that you're selling it for $75.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
It's funny, Mother 3 was the example coming to my head, and I know that's still Nintendo, but actually...
Well, here's the thing, yeah. I'm making a physical, because it is released.
Right.
You know that, right? Mother 3 is out.
What, in America?
Yes. On the Wii U Virtual Console.
Really? 3? Alright.
They called it Mother Beginnings, because 3 was a... wasn't 3 a... wait. So let me remember...
Because Earthbound is Mother 2.
Yeah, Earthbound is Mother 2. Yeah. Mother 1 Beginnings is also out in the US.
Okay.
Via the Virtual Console. Right. But I'm pretty sure 3 was also released. Maybe I'm wrong. If you could look that up while we're talking about this. But I'm pretty sure 3 was also released on the Virtual Console. If not, then whoops. Probably not. I know that there's some fan translations, though, on a Game Boy Advance cartridge. And also fan translations online in general. I thought it was released. I'm probably super wrong then, not thinking about it. But my whole thing, what I'm trying to get at here, right, guys, is that I think that companies can start to do this. We've seen it happen in the anime world as well, where, you know, Aria the Animation, we've seen, what's it called? We've seen Vision of Escaflowne from Funimation as well. And yes, in the anime, you know, looking at it from an anime perspective, these companies do pay licensing costs, so it's a bit different than an actual company that's selling the game in Japan to do this. But, you know, there's a bunch of other retro game distributors like Retrobit and a few others that for some odd reason aren't coming up top of my head, so I apologize, guys. Because there's a lot of different retro, you know, resellers, or like rather, you know, they're trying to deal in retro accessories. And I think it's like, I think there's like 8-Bit Dough and there's other ones as well. And they'll be making official reproduction cartridges. And I think it's really cool because you had this one company, 8-Bit Dough, they worked with Capcom to release Street Fighter 2 on the Street Fighter, like, or around the time of the Street Fighter anniversary. Because it's been 30 years of Street Fighter. Now, is Street Fighter 2 the best choice? No, you can actually get that game normally for $5. So, like, it wasn't the best choice, but they went with Street Fighter 2 because, well, first off, they made a new box for it. The box actually folded up into some really cool illustration.
Nice.
And it came with, I'm pretty sure if it didn't come with a manual, which I thought it did, then it came with a poster. And, again, it's a completely working game. So it's a brand new game as well, if you didn't have Street Fighter 2 for some reason. So, you know, well, because again, it's like out of box, it's like $5.
Right.
So it was really done as like a, hey, Street Fighter 2 was popular back in the day, and also it's 30th anniversary.
Right.
But, you know, but it was a physical release. Now, of course, this is referring to a digital release, so yeah, of course, that also muddies things up as well. Would you give, as far, I shouldn't say this about Earthbound fans, because they would. I was going to say, would you really give money to Nintendo to put Earthbound 3 on the Switch Virtual Store? Oh God, the money. Oh God, it's hurting. Too much of it is hitting my face. Help. Send help. My broken bones due to money. So to be fair, yes, people would do that. But I'm referring to, you know, a game like Marvelous, or there's a bunch of other games as well that I can't think of, that, you know, would you give people money, like, would you give a company money that isn't like a third-party company going through it?
Right.
Would you give that larger company money to release that game digitally? I don't know. So I think physical might be better, because you can give digital rewards as well, but, I mean, unless it's through Steam, in my opinion, everything is finite. Where, like, of course, you know, because even if, like, your computer explodes, Tristan, which, please, dear God, I hope it doesn't, you're right there. But if your computer explodes, Steam still has your library backed up, so you can still re-download your stuff through Steam if you have your your login, right? I'm correct in saying that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically, all you need is a new computer every time, and you still have your library backed up for years to come. Obviously, it's like, well, what if Steam died? Well, then you have your computer, but you can still transfer that data over to other computers.
Right.
You can't buy a new PS4. I mean, you can technically transfer your new data to a new PS4, I'm sure. I know that there's ways to transfer it from... You would also put it on an external hard drive, in a way. So it's not super duper difficult, but obviously you couldn't transfer it to a potential PS5.
Right, yeah.
Then it would be like, sorry, you're done. And it's like, you sit there with your PS4 for like freaking 30 years from now, like, that was a good indie game.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of why I lean more towards physical. So it would be nice if we get this on a physical something. I don't know about the 3DS, but it would have been nice to... And like, I don't know, it would have been nice to have gotten this on a physical disc. But it looks like they're just going for digital distribution only.
Right.
So, so yeah, but you see my point though, right? Like, I think that this would be a great future for us to look forward to. I know that some people just want to go, no, I just want to pay for the game and that's it. And, you know, and feel like Kickstarter is a bit more gimmicky and stuff like that. But my take on it is, if for some of these games, if there's no Kickstarter, then it wouldn't be coming out anyway.
Right.
Like, I know our thought is, oh, but a company could afford this. Yeah, but they're not going to. So if the choice is, oh, we're not going to do this because we don't think there's there's any fan uproar about it. Now, when it comes to like Shenmue or something, like Shenmue, like, it's stupid because, like, of course there's a lot of fans who want to, you know, who are shaking the cages, like, give me another one.
Right.
But it's still, you know, I mean, it's a sad thing because I hate to be this guy, but there's still a lot of fans, myself included, that are really interested in Funimation releasing more Case Closed. In Japan, it's Detective Conan.
Right.
And releasing more Sergeant Frog. And sadly, Funimation talks to us about it. Like, not you and I personally. That'd be nice. But it talks to the fans in interviews and stuff. Anytime someone asks, and they basically say, listen, if all this fan love about it was directed to buying DVDs, guess what? We would have been making more.
Right.
So, you know, when it comes to a game, even though there are a lot of people shaking the cage, like, give us more like Earthbound. Even though I do think Earthbound, you know, is a big seller, great seller, definitely, you know, made the Super Nintendo Classic fly off the shelves.
Yeah.
Not just it being Super Nintendo Classic, but I think having Earthbound on that, which now you have it, so you better freaking play it.
I'm going to.
Good. Anyway, the point is that it's, you know, obviously, yes, sometimes the fans will shake the cage and be like, we need this now, and like, really, but like looking at Aria the Animation, a Kickstarter that we've covered throughout many of our episodes, were there people clamoring for Aria the Anime? I never heard of it. I never even heard of this anime until I saw the Kickstarter for it, and I said, all right, let's follow this story, breaking news, right, and see how it develops. And guess what? The fans spoke. They funded it each and every time a new goal was posted, the fans got it covered.
Right.
Amazing fans. right? But if the company was like, well, we don't know if we want to make an English dub for this, and then didn't put that up on Kickstarter, then it never would have gotten made. So, that's my take on it, right? Like, yes, it's. I mean, how do you feel about it personally? Like, would you be open for this kind of future?
I mean,
Kickstarter future?
Yeah, I think I'd be open to things like this getting released. I mean, I guess it would depend on the title for me, but if there was something that I really wanted, like, if it was a title that wasn't going to get an English release or something like that that I really enjoyed, yeah, I'd probably back a Kickstarter for it to get that English release. But
Kingdom Hearts 3 is now behind a paywall. The Kickstarter future has won, and now we can't get it unless we pay the fine.
Matt, you're assuming that game will actually ever come out ever. Anyway,
it will. So. It will once we pay the fine. It will. No, that's the only way it'll come out.
I don't want to even imagine that future, Matt. That future is just littered with destruction and chaos.
I know. Yeah. But no, all jokes aside, yeah, like obviously a Disney doing that or anything like that would be completely asinine, because it's like, no, you're Disney.
Yeah. Like you said.
I know Disney and Square Enix, but even then, you're Square Enix. Can you not?
Yeah. I think older games, even if it's a bigger company, like we said with Nintendo, if it's like older games that may have not have gotten an English release, it could work with that. Or if it's a smaller company that, has, a semi-popular game, or like even this looks like an interesting concept, putting up Kickstarter for an English release.
Exactly, yeah. And that's another thing too, by the way. We have to acknowledge, right, that it depends on what part of the release is being put on Kickstarter. Because it's not like if Nintendo said, give us money to make a new Earthbound game, I'd be like, hold up, guys, you're Nintendo, guys. What do you mean?
Right.
Give you money to make a new Earthbound game. But if it was like, hey, if you give us the translation costs for Earthbound, 3 or Mother 3, and I guess it would be considered Earthbound 2 in the US, Mother 3, if you give us that cash, then we'll give you a copy of the Game Boy Advance cartridge of the game.
Right.
Well, even though it's still Nintendo and I still feel iffy about it, well, again, you're starting to get into a territory where it's like, oh, you've already made the game.
Yeah.
You're not, and again, if it's a smaller company too, a smaller company is like, hey, help us make this game. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that, this is talking about the translation costs after the game has already been made. A lot of money has been poured into making this game already. So the game exists.
Right.
Just not in the language you'd like it to exist in. So give us cash. And so, I mean, I think it's an interesting concept. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it in the comments below if you're watching this through YouTube, because I'm super duper interested about, this topic, because I think it's okay. I mean, again, I don't want companies trying to take us for a ride, but we're not looking for, Capcom to try to, throw us under the bus. If it's Capcom through another company, then, yeah, I have no problem with that either. Like, the other company, putting out those costs of either translating or, repurposing a cartridge, stuff like that. So, I'm interested, to say the least. I want to see where this goes before we start bringing out pitchforks.